Whakaalawhala here too, and welcome to PCA News. And if you were joining in on Pacifica TV, warm greetings to you all. Leading tonight, petrol prices in the region have dropped in July heading into August, while New Year's fuel prices remain the same since the last increase in May. The Office of the Secretary of Government, who is leading the fuel task force set up to deal with the global fuel crisis, has indicated that Niue is not looking to reduce fuel prices at this time. And here's that story.
In a statement provided to the BCN, the Office of the Secretary of Government says the current pump price remains below the actual cost of purchasing, shipping, storing and distributing fuel to the island. They say the government is already subsidizing a significant portion of costs to help keep prices affordable, and priority now is to maintain stable fuel prices while ensuring secure and reliable fuel prices for households, businesses and essential services. Any future pricing decisions will be informed by actual fuel costs, shipping expenses, and fuel security requirements. The government last issued a fuel price change on the 26th of May, an increase of 20 cents for both petrol and diesel, where petrol increased from $3.80 to $4 and diesel from $4 to $4.20. In Fiji, from the 1st of July, petrol decreased by 49 to 52 cents, or around $3.44 across the country, while diesel prices decreased by between $1.19 and $1.25 per litre, or around $3.39 per litre, within 3 kilometres of public roads in Viti Levu. In Tonga, the government announced the prices for July and August was a 10-cent decrease in petrol and an 85-cent decrease in diesel.
The Niue Land Registry Handbook is now available online for the public. The book was launched earlier this week on Monday, and it contains the court's register process to help the public navigate the use of the system. The launch was attended by the Minister of Lands, Justice and Survey, Judge Armstrong, and government officials. The handbook would be a valuable resource for land register staff, outlining proper court registry process and, more importantly, inform the public through a digital online platform.
I believe that this handbook is one of those improvements. Every land application represents a family, a history, and a connection to our land. Having clear and consistent guidance helps ensure that we serve our people fairly, efficiently, and with confidence.
Acting Secretary of Justice Mr. Tohovaka says the team is blessed to have the support of the government, former and current ministers, Chief Justice and Judiciary, and the Pacific Justice Sector Program, through MFET and the Government of New Zealand for this resource. He thanks the team at the registry for progressing this resource to its online destination. Whakawela Mahaki Owe Tulutulo. Worth $3.5 million, the Project Management Coordination Unit, or PMCU, launched the Global Environment Facility 7 RSTEP project. The project spanned 3 years in areas of sustainable tourism and agriculture while protecting the country's biodiversity and natural environment.
The initiative is a partnership between the PMCU and the United Nations Environment Programme. The inception, which was held at Matavai Resort yesterday, brought together government agencies, partners and stakeholders. BCN News spoke with United Nations Environment Programme representative Mrs. Sangjin Lee, who says the inception workshop was a great occasion to hear some initial views and thoughts from key stakeholders and to highlight priority areas of the project, such as sustainable tourism.
The inception workshop yesterday was about the project Global Environmental Facilities, and UNEP is the one implementing agency, and also this project is about the national project that could contribute to the new year in terms of environment and also tourism sector, as well as the forest area. So that this project is hopefully to contribute to the national priorities here in Niue to help the countries in a better shape in terms of not only for the environment but also tourism or any economic processes. So I think the event yesterday was very meaningful in terms of all stakeholders gathered and share their views and ideas how to implement those projects for the national interest.
UNEP and PMCU in partnership in this project will aim to achieve their goals over the next 3 years.
Yes, this project is 3 years, and we, as a implementing agency, UNEP, we are closely working with project management units of the DOA government, and then the main reason is to reach the goal of this project. So that their role and the responsibility to take care of this project is really important, and then those targets and then also objective will be achieved through the collaboration with the UNEP as well as the project management units, especially with the help of key stakeholders.
The expectation is for the project to produce results that would be beneficial for the country within sustainable environmental management and practices.
We really expect some tangible outcomes coming out of this project that really help and contribute to the Niue, not only for the environment, but also in the tourist and also forest area. So through this project, we as an implement agency, the UNEP will do our best to close working with the Niue government, and we really expect some tangible outcomes of this project, and we are really looking forward to working together with this project.
It's been a long time since a rugby player of Niuean heritage represented a national team. 21-year-old Kane James of Awasele, who plays at number 8, became Warriors Rugby Niue's debutant over the weekend in the final 14 minutes of their match against Argentina.
Kane is the son of Niuean Sika Tupenosa James, who is from the village of Awasele, and his father is Welshman Chris James. BC News spoke with Kane's mum, Sika, this morning, who was overwhelmed with joy and speaking about her son's great achievement and his rugby journey.
Kane is my oldest son. He's 21 years old. He was born in a small town in West Wales, and then we moved up to Cardiff, where he started playing rugby, joined a local club near our house. And Kane done all his schooling and played rugby. He played rugby for Cardiff Schools under 11s. And these are like, steps of when he got himself into playing rugby.
Born in a small town of West Wales, before the family moved to Cardiff, Kane's rugby journey began when he was 6 years old and progressed through the grades in Cardiff. Mum Sika says his father Chris James has played a massive role in Kane's career, being a semi-professional rugby player in his days.
All these achievements he's had is all down to him, because he commits himself to everything he does. You'd find him doing things to make it better all the time. A lot of his rugby is mainly from his father as well. He used to be a semi-professional rugby player, and as any parent would, he had done everything to make it possible for Kane and to follow his dream to becoming a professional rugby player. We're all very proud of him, and we're all excited and looking forward to what he's going to bring into his career as a rugby player. It is any boy's dream to play for the national country, and we are so proud of him. He's had a go at playing age grade rugby with England under 20s, but now he has chosen to come home and to represent his country where he was born.
As far away as Wales is, Kane is not unfamiliar with the Niuean culture, as he understood Wangahau as a young child. Earlier this year, Mum Sika says Kane's 21st birthday was largely Niuean themed.
So when Kane was born, I did teach him to speak some basic Niuean, and we did, he did learn some Niuean to speak Niuean at a young age, but as he grew older, he tends to speak more English, and we don't have that Niuean conversation anymore because it doesn't reciprocate, because he does understand some things, but he can't speak it. I've tried my best to make sure that they understand where I'm from and the culture and tradition as a Niuean. In March this year, we celebrated his 21st, which was mainly my side of things in making sure that it is something that they should carry on as well, and they should understand that is a tradition that we normally do, and we believe in. He was very fortunate and he was very happy, and it kind of like shocked him in a way of how I done it. And I said to him, this is only that was only a minor thing. If we'd done it and knew it would be the whole island celebrating with him with his 21st. I have got family over here, Martha and Dean. Dean Rex is in London, and Martha is in York, and they both came down and celebrated and helped me celebrate with all our friends and family here in Wales, Kane's 21st. I do try to encourage them to have that connection back home, because we are so far away here, and I'm sure if, when everyone had seen the clip that he'd done on BBC of how proud he is and how lucky he felt that he has got that connection through me, and people are rooting for him to be successful in his career as a professional rugby player.
Kane has earned selections in the under-19 Welsh national team and then the under-20s English national team before returning home. And perhaps I can say for new rugby players of past and present, the position of number 8 at the international level is quite a remarkable achievement. Kane's mum is well aware and is grateful for all the well wishes, as the excitement of her son's achievement is shared across the island and amongst Niueans across the globe.
I just want to say thank you very much for everyone and for all the support from Niue. Without you all and all the support that we've had in the last few days, it's meant a lot to all my family in Avasale, all my family in Alofi and Hakupu. I thanking you from the bottom of my heart for making my son proud and making everyone proud. I know he's done us proud, but for everyone supporting him and being behind him to give him that background of such a small island. We're from Whauelai Mahaki, Manakiniki, Manuini Tupere Kane, and you all get to see him on TV one day, and more often, hopefully. Whauelai.
As the FIFA World Cup looks ahead to the weekend for the grand finale, Niue's own soccer federation is gearing up for the season with the delivery of the much-needed soccer gears. It's been 6 years since Niue revived the sport. Mrs. Chamal Talangi Vetriaki, who is president of the Niue Island Soccer Association, says the upcoming season with the annual futsal tournament to kickstart this season.
This year we're preparing for our annual futsal tournaments for the junior and open men's and open women's. This will be the 6th year since we revived the association, and we are just yesterday we were fortunate to distribute some balls and equipment to help our teams train for the upcoming tournaments next month.
The team has largely relied on outside support for funding. Recently, the Niue Development Bank sponsored footballs, bibs and football gowns, while friends from around the world such as Bisji and Isol assisted with raising $14,000 New Zealand dollars online, and much of these funds have been put towards producing jerseys for more fundraising.
Yeah, so yeah, we're just grateful for everyone that has helped, and also the sponsors for these equipment from NDB. Yeah, so we also have new equipment coming through, and that is through funding fundraisers, online fundraisers by outside football community that is supporting Niue Football Association, and we're just grateful for these the community out there that is interested to help Niue. We haven't had a team to any international tournament since 1983 in Pangopang. It's like 45 years ago. And it is our aim, I guess, to develop our players so that we're able to field the team soon, I guess, to the South Pacific Games maybe.
Jamal says the association has received many offers from outside in areas of coaching. However, the lack of funding will always limit the ability to bring professionals and to visit the island.
There's been a lot of interest from outside to coach in Niue, and we don't have that type of program here or the resources to fund a national coach. We would like to develop a team.
The village of Alofi South continues with the festival program in the lead up to the village show day this Saturday. Yesterday, the village led the Aliutu Culture Sports Day, which was open to all youths.
There was plenty youth from within and from outside villages who took part in the day's cultural activities. The activities included weaving, husking coconut, daisika, sprint races and other cultural sports that locals are familiar with. BCN News spoke with one of the village matua who's helping with the program, Mr. Sani Hekesi. He says he is happy that the village was able to hold such an event, especially for youth who are unfamiliar or are still learning about our cultural practices.
The main athletic day for Niue High School took place last Friday. It was a long but enjoyable day as our young athletes took to the field to compete for their house teams. Leading up to the main athletics day last Friday, the school had held the field event starting on the 15th of May. The principal of Niue High School, Mr. Charles Ioane, had informed BCN News that the field events results up to the 26th of June had the Pua team in first place, followed by Keato, then Langakeli, and then Moea in fourth place. On the main athletics day, the results for marching saw Langakeli receive first, followed by Keato in second, and then Moea in third, and Pua in last place. The overall Sika champion was Langakeli's Joshua Pomali. Overall, Pua came out on top as 2026 champions, followed by Langakeli in second, Keato in third, and Moea in fourth place. And that's our news bulletin for tonight. A reminder that TV Niue will be showing the coverage of the Commonwealth Games on TV3 on your TV channels. Also check out the Alofi South Village Show Day this coming Saturday. And that's our news bulletin for tonight. We'll bring you a news bulletin in Wangahau on Tuesday next week. Wasana Sioneholo, good evening.